Napoli fans around the world, welcome to Napoli Talk. In Conte's first home game of the season, we destroy Champions League players Bologna 3-0. And finally, guys, after months of waiting, we finally see the spark in this team again. I am so happy that these players have found what it takes, have found that spirit, have found that condition to play as a team again, to be creative, to express themselves. And obviously, guys, it had to be Di Lorenzo and Kvara, the two players that Conte said they are not moving. I don't care about anybody else, but Di Lorenzo and Kvara, they stay. So guys, let's get right into it. But before we gotta do that, we gotta take a look at some comments, what you guys have to say. Some of you guys, for example, Trinigrade says, sorry, I missed the game. LK says, gotta admit, wasn't expecting that. Roberto, buona prestazione, ma siamo solo all'inizio. That's true. Good performance, but we're only at the start. First live stream starting with a smile this year. Napoli Nation TV, thank you so much for your support. Says that's more like it. That is what Conte means when it comes to passion on the pitch. Our new boy David already making an impact. Lukaku and McTominay practically signed. Forza Napoli. Guys, David Neres showed in three touches, what Lindstrom couldn't show in not 38 games last season because he didn't play all of them, but let's say in 25. And there were still people that were saying, oh, I wish we gave Lindstrom more of a chance. Guys, we cannot afford that. we cannot afford to give Lindstrom more of a chance. Now you see what kind of quality player Neres is and how that can make an impact. And obviously, guys, I mean, we're getting a Brazilian winger. What else did you expect, right? Actually, yesterday I recorded a video, right? And I was giving my assessment on Gilmore, on McTominay, on Neres. And then I thought, when I got to the Neres part, I thought, do I really need to make a video where I compare Neres to Politano and to Lindstrom? I mean, I will probably say something that is just so obvious that he is an upgrade that people are not even going to watch, right? And so I didn't end up posting the video because, I mean, it's expected that a guy like him is an upgrade on Politano. I didn't want to offend your football intelligence to even make a video about that because calling that an analysis is, well, it's very elementary, right? So yeah, guys, we saw. I maybe didn't expect it to happen in three touches, but we saw what kind of striker Neres is and what he can contribute to Napoli. Lorenzo says, "Congrats on winning Serie A." Honestly, guys. I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but what we saw today, it's not too different from what we saw 2 years ago. Solid, creative, fitness wise, very good. We'll get into all that. The weakest points in the team, though, guys, still Rachmani made a few little things that we'll talk about. We'll have screenshots to show that I'm not convinced. We are winning the Scudetto again. Guys, let me go to the very start, right? I'm going to all these new comments. I'm getting ahead of myself. There's people that have commented maybe 5-10 minutes ago. Let me take those comments first. Maximus says 100 times better. Buongiorno instead of Juan Jesus is so much better. Guys, we just updated from a I don't want to say the name of a car model just in case one of you guys has this car model, but we just upgraded from, imagine, a car model that you might not be very fond of to a goddamn Ferrari, guys. Buongiorno showed us what a solid center back can do, and he's literally doing the job of two players because Rachmani has not improved since last week or since last season. But when you play with five at the back, like we play, when you have guys like Olivera and Di Lorenzo and Buongiorno all playing well, then even if you have a guy like Rachmani a little bit further behind, it can be compensated, right? Even though there was a moment where Meret had to make a decisive save to compensate for that. So guys, I'm very, 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 very happy. Maximus says I'm gonna try to temper my excitement about Buongiorno, but love what we saw from him today. Guys, you don't need to. You don't need to temper any excitement because Buongiorno is the real deal. If you take a look at a video I've made on him and Spinazzola a few weeks ago, he is number one in Italy last season for like most tackles, most clearances, most this. He is miles above, for example, Calafiori, and for whatever reason, Spalletti wanted to play with him in the Euros ahead of Buongiorno. Now, I'm not saying that was a bad decision because Calafiori played very well, and it was great for his career. He went to the Premier League, and it was great for us because he didn't get put on the world stage. But if I was Spalletti, Buongiorno would have been my first pick in that defense because he is Italy's best center back, ahead of Bastoni, ahead of Calafiori. Like, guys, let's not let's not pretend as though this is one good game from Buongiorno. He is the real deal. I'm confident about that. Mike, thank you so much for your support. Mamma mia, Kvara with the beautiful assist. And Vincenzo, good to hear from you, man. And thank you for your support. Says Kvaradona, got the daddy energy. Netta's best right wing since Callejon. And good morning. Super solid, symbolic first goal by Dilo as well. It had to be Dilo, guys. It had to be him putting the pass behind us. You cannot write this script any better, guys. Because you guys have been donating, for those of you that donate, thank you, guys. I thought of making something a little bit simpler as well, and kind of making sure that those that want to do it on a more regular basis don't have to always get on the live or anything like that. And if you just want to support the channel, even just as little as €1, you can do that, guys, because I have, oops, not this one. I have introduced some memberships into the channel, so you can become a member for as low as €1 a month or 0.99. It's literally the lowest I could put on YouTube. Otherwise I would have put lower if it was possible. But with that, you basically get loyalty badges, priority reply to comments, and things go up all the way. So for an extra euro, you get exclusive shorts. So for example, Napoli buys Neres, I'll make a quick short about that, and you get my view on it. Because I don't want my normal videos to be like news videos. I just don't think that kind of content fits that. But shorts, it's a great way. For $2.99, you can be part of the Napoli Talk Predictor game. If you win the month, then you get a chance to be on the channel, make a video with me like it happened last year. And if you really wanna support the channel, you can go for the last option, and you also get a chance to call into the live if you do that. So guys, check that out at some point if you do. But if not, then that's also totally fine. I love all of you guys. And goddamn, do I love Conte today. Let's see. Oli says Forza. There we go. Kvara over Leao all day. It's not even a question. It really isn't even a question at this point. Mercano says Di Lorenzo looked insanely confident. Hope he can keep it up. Look, he looked confident even against Modena, guys. But you guys maybe might not remember. Some of you might do. But he was the one that took the first penalty. First official game of the season. It's 0-0, penalty shootout. If you mess up, your whole entire season is ruined at that point. Maybe the club gets knocked out of a competition. Di Lorenzo was the first guy to step up and take a penalty. He started this year saying, you know what, I'm going to take responsibility. And it's incredible to see him get so far forward. We talked about it in the previous game against Verona. In the first half, he did it very well. He gets so far forward for what is essentially a center back that he really is that extra X factor, I think, this season. If we get a good Di Lorenzo, then it's going to be incredible for us because he's going to be that guy making the runs that people are not going to know how to handle because other teams just don't have center backs making those runs into the box like Di Lorenzo can do because he is someone that has been adapted as a center back, but he's always gone forward in his career. Neres is so good. Why is Marin not there? Look, Conte said that Marin just doesn't have the quality yet in getting the ball forward, in passing to his teammates, and that he's got some work to do. But let's see if in a few weeks that changes. Um, isn't Rachmani just another version of Harry Maguire? Yeah, maybe. Buongiorno Dilo, Kvara and Neres looked absolutely amazing today. Kvara was trying everywhere, running, pressing, passing. Many probably didn't even notice how many defensive actions he had. Kvara had an incredible game, guys. You'll see it in the player ratings in just a while. Let me get to a few more comments and then we go to the recap and analysis of the game. I cannot believe it happened. I actually enjoyed Napoli's game. I'm happy for everybody. Happy for everybody that you guys finally have been enjoying the Napoli game. I want both McTominay and Gilmour, not just one or the other. I think they would both provide something extra to Napoli. Look, in games where you want to control the passing a bit more, you could even play with Lobo and Gilmour in the center. In games where you want an extra player that runs into the box, makes that diving run, you would have maybe both Anguissa and McTominay. I'm saying you could have that, and you have very similar players playing in the same position if you really want to push the limits in one way or another, or you go to a more balanced approach and you have Lobotka Anguissa or Gilmour McTominay or Gilmour Anguissa or McTominay Lobotka, right? Which is kind of what we have now with Lobotka Anguissa. But I'm saying with having kind of copies of Anguissa and Lobotka, you can have a lot more combinations in the middle, which we'll see what Conte decides to do. And I think those are decent players in their own rights. They have weaknesses, they have strengths. I'll make a Mercato video where I talk about that, maybe talk about Lukaku, who knows, in the future. But I don't want to make videos on players that have not yet officially signed. So we'll do that in a while. Is there anyone on the planet who looks more stoned than Neres? Poor guy, and his history, having played in Amsterdam, really does not help his case. But no, that's just unfortunately just how he looks, guys. But he is a top quality player. What else do you expect from a Brazilian winger, guys? Let's go to Partenope saying waiting for Big Rom, Gilmore, and McTominay. Those guys, I think, could give something. Look, a lot of talk has been said about Lukaku, right? Oh, 30 million for Lukaku plus the add-ons or plus the sell-on fee. He's 31. Oh, La Caca, all this kind of stuff. Guys, Lukaku is someone that will come into the dressing room and he'll look at people in the eye like Rachmani and say, man, you better not screw this up today, right? That's what Big Rom does, right? You do not screw up in front of Big Rom. Like, maybe he might screw up. I'm not saying he won't, but Big Rom has that aura, like Diego Costa. You know what I mean? That he just walks into a dressing room and says, now we win. And that's what he did at Inter. Okay? That's what I think Big Rom gives to Napoli. He's someone that wants to come here and win. He's someone with experience, someone that can walk into any Serie A side and just be a starter like that. He proved that at Inter, he proved that at Roma. I don't know why he wouldn't be able to prove that at Napoli. Playing for a coach that he loves and who loves him back, I don't see the problem with him. Is he better than Osimhen? No. But is Osimhen motivated to continue at Napoli? I don't know. But is Lukaku motivated to play at Napoli? Yes, he is. So for me, I cannot stress enough how important that mental aspect is. I don't know if you guys agree with that. So, you know, maybe, maybe not, right? But in my view, I think that we need to consider that aspect as well, which I don't think is being talked about enough. Buongiorno was my favorite center back in Serie A 2 seasons ago. Now I think it's time to fill my room with posters of the best player to grace the history of the football game, of the beautiful game. Incredible. Did Lorenzo look good off the ball today? I think when he's forced to go up and drawn consistently, he's a little bit more weak. I prefer someone like Mazzocchi who plays down the right. Interesting take. I will personally crawl all the way up to Naples to tear JJ's contract. Let's see some other comments, guys. Politano was very good today. Yeah, he was. He was good. Maybe could have done more with some of his finishing, but overall, very good. Let's go. Kvara God, yes. Honestly, today, yes. Milan looked lost this season. Manager might not make him past mid-season break. Guys, a lot of teams lost points today. Lazio lost points. Milan lost points. Well, yesterday. Roma lost points. Inter lost points last week. Even though we had a horrible loss against Verona, we're just still 1 point behind the leaders, guys. We've got that hit in the face. Now we move forward. All right. Let's go into, guys, a little bit of the analysis into the game. Look, the first two screenshots are not going to fit nicely on the square that I have, just because I was setting up my computer still, and so I didn't get the aspect ratio right. But you'll get the point, and we'll go past these two screenshots very quickly. This was Mazzocchi playing in Raspadori at the start, and then he was a bit inaccurate with his finishing, unfortunately, guys. Um, Look, Raspadori, let's before we talk about the next screenshot, let's talk a little bit about Raspadori. I think Raspadori made some good movements today, but ultimately, I think he had this opportunity to start, didn't quite take it. Now it looks like Big Rom is coming in. Simeone instead scored. I think this might just be the game where Raspadori, in Conte's mind, becomes the third striker. No, maybe if up till now it was between him and Simeone, who's going to be that second striker, I think in this game, him missing a few of those chances might go against him. But what he did do was that he brought movement, and the team looked very dynamic with him in the field, at least. But I want to highlight in this screenshot, guys, is Kvara's position centrally, but that's only made possible, right, with Oliveira, the fifth defender slash left wing back, coming in from behind supporting, right? I mean, that allows Kvara to fill that central position, and we saw today how impactful he can be when he drifts centrally. That's how he scored that second goal. And look, we did really well to hit Bologna with counterattacks. Bologna is a team that still has a bit of that confidence from last year. Well, at least up until Napoli scored that first goal. Still have that confidence. Thought they could come to Naples and just, play their football. Absolutely not. Napoli, when they want to hit you on the counter, we show today that we can. But yeah, we just got to work on that finishing a little bit. And especially from our front guys, Politano, Raspadori, all these guys, they got to make sure that when they get the ball, like in this case, it goes to Raspadori, that he's able to get it in the back of the net. Di Lorenzo had to show this guy how to do it. Now, I want to talk a little bit about our pressing, right? Because I saw this mistake against Verona as well, right? In Verona's either first or second goal, right? Where I think it was the first one, where Verona had the ball and Di Lorenzo makes a strange decision to go press the opposition when he had too much ground to cover up, right? And then that left him exposed when eventually the ball was played in behind him. And again, here, look, it's the same thing, right? Skorupski passes the ball to a Bologna player who's not directly being pressed. And then you have here Lobotka, who's on another player at the moment that you can just see on the right of your screen. He makes, I think, the wrong decision to go and press. For me, that's too much distance to cover. It gives the opposition too much time to turn around and figure out what to do, either find a new pass or, in this case, drop a shoulder and get past Lobotka. I feel like with pressing, either you do it at the right time or you stay back. This whole idea of going to press just for the sake of it is completely wrong. Because if a guy turns on you and you're committed, you've got that forward momentum, it's so easy to just drop a shoulder and change direction. And then, you're going to need a few meters to break before you can turn around. And that's exactly what happened here. And we got exposed in this counterattack all of a sudden Anguissa had to make up ground where Lobotka was, but this guy just passed it forward, so it was impossible for Anguissa to recover. So we got to make sure we don't do that. I think if we go back 2 steps, I think in this case, when Skorupski passes the ball, it should be Politano on the right hand side that at most comes in and presses a little bit. And worst case scenario, Bologna play the pass laterally to their left center back, right? But in any case, that left center back wouldn't really have, uh, the same kind of dangerous level than what happened later, which was that they attacked us centrally, right? So again, we got to avoid pressing for the sake of pressing. If we can do it at the right time, great. If we see that, for example, here there was a bad pass, the ball was bouncing or what, fine, but don't do it for the sake of doing it. All right, so that's something we got to watch out for. Now I want to another issue that I want to bring up, because guys, we won 3-0. It's great, okay? But there's still some issues that we need to iron out. Let's be very clear about that. Here, you had this moment at the 0-0. Bologna had the ball. We've got our 5 defenders and Rachmani way out of position, as similar to what Juan Jesus was last week. And you can see that Rachmani here actually, like, go watch the replay live, because on screenshots you cannot see it very well. But Rachmani makes the wrong movement, not only at this point, but also later. When that Bologna player cuts inside, then here Rachmani makes the wrong movement. He tries to trigger the offside line, so he actually makes a step to the left. But this step is too slow. It's too slow. The ball is already played. And he doesn't realize that even if he makes a step to the left, it's never going to catch this guy offside, because Buongiorno and Oliveira behind him are going to keep him onside anyways. And he's too far away to actually, his step to the left is not gonna, it's not gonna make any difference, right? So Rachmani is just lost. He's just confused. So he makes a step to the left, then he has to recover going back to the right, and by the time he does that, he's now 2 steps behind that Bologna player. Look at how that Bologna player, he's 2 steps to the left of Rachmani. A second later, he's 2 steps ahead. It's because Rachmani makes that wrong movement. He goes completely the wrong way. And this question then becomes even more important from Temeto, which is, why is Rafa Marin not playing? I understand that Rafa Marin might not be the best to build up from the back, but we got to understand if Rafa Marin also makes these kind of mistakes of reading the game wrongly. So yeah, guys, it's incredible how we spent all this money and Rachmani is still in the starting 11. Meret here was solid. He was very solid. What I didn't like about Meret was, even though he pulled off this great save, what I didn't like about Meret was I still felt that he was uncomfortable playing from the back, right? So you'll see that reflected in the player ratings. But guys, so there's still some work to be done with this Napoli team, right? It's not all roses and flowers, okay? Now you'll see what I mean with Meret, struggling. Bologna was that type of team, especially, with the confidence of last year still on their shoulders, because it was 0-0 at this point. They were a team that was pressing Napoli, and Rachmani here had a moment where he was so undecisive. Instead of just passing the ball immediately now, he actually takes an extra second to do it. It allows the Bologna player to come even closer, and then he gives, honestly, like an awkward ball to Meret. It's not in the next screenshot exactly, but it puts Meret under a lot of difficulty. Meret has to clear the ball. It goes to a Bologna player, right? So this 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 part of the skeleton of Napoli's team, Meret, Rachmani, it's got a lot of work to do. And I think, to be fair to Meret, it's a lot like his insecurity is made evident and highlighted by the mistakes of Rachmani, right? It's Rachmani that doesn't give him the right pass at the right time, which puts Meret under pressure and it makes him make a mistake, right? It was like that in the friendly as well. Like, if you eliminate the root cause, Rachmani, then you also make Meret look a lot better, is what I'm trying to say, right? So, yeah. But let's move on to the more positive things, guys. Again, here I want to highlight the run made by Oliveira. This time, instead of Oliveira staying wide and Kvara going centrally, it's the opposite, right? It's Oliveira making that run centrally, Kvara staying wide, and the Bologna defense just could not deal with it. And this reminded me so much of Lorenzo Insigne and Jose Callejon. I don't know if you guys had that same deja vu, obviously on flipped on the other side, but this is exactly the sort of run that Kvara made that Jose Maria Callejon used to do, getting in behind the defenders. And unfortunately, guys, he hits an incredible crossbar here, lofted header, very, very close to going in. But then Politano, even though he had that great pass, and to be honest, his passing today was great. Uh, his finishing, he had two shots in similar conditions, one here in the first half, one in the second half, where he missed the target. And I think with a player of his quality, he needs to do a little bit more. Now, guys, something that I really liked about Napoli in the midfield, which is a big improvement from last year and a big improvement, especially from Verona. Do you remember the second goal from Verona last week, where in the midfield we had like five Napoli players, one Verona player, and that Verona player won the ball? In that kind of ground duel, and then we were exposed. Here, guys, Anguissa wins his tackle against the Bologna player, immediately gets back up while that Bologna player is down on the ground, like basically, like destroyed. Then the ball bounces over and it gets to where Lobotka is, and Lobotka comes in with a crunching tackle. Boom, gets the ball. Another Bologna player is there. Lobotka again with the ball, and a Napoli player in there to support. And Napoli, in the end, get possession of the ball and we're moving forward. And you can see three Bologna players like struggling to get up, and our midfielders, Lobotka and Anguissa, are already standing up, already ready to go. And that shows how much more desire we had than Bologna at this point of the game, and how much more desire, for example, we had now compared to the Verona game. And I think it shows also the fitness of these players has improved dramatically, and that must be thanks to what Conte has been doing with these guys. So that now we get to the goal, guys. And speaking of the midfield, this is a great through ball by Lobotka to Di Lorenzo. Di Lorenzo passes the ball forward. His first instinct today was always to pass the ball forward, and then he continues his run. Politano with that nice pass to Kvara, and Kvara sees the run of Di Lorenzo, and it's great, right? It's so hard to defend against not even the third man, but the fourth man coming into the area, because you've got Raspadori, Mazzocchi, Politano, all these guys there that Bologna players are thinking about, which could make a run to the box, and then you have that fourth man coming in, Di Lorenzo. And that's the sort of stuff that teams that are at the top, like Bayer Leverkusen and all that kind of stuff, do, right? They were scoring so many goals last year by runs from these players, the fourth or third man coming in, making that run in behind the defenders. And Kvara, what a beautiful pass. What a beautiful pass by Kvara to pick out Di Lorenzo. Di Lorenzo puts it perfectly on the ground. Like, he doesn't panic. He doesn't try to take the shot first time. He doesn't sky it over the crossbar. He just puts it down on his right foot and then keeps it low and puts it past Skorupski. And it's great that he didn't even keep it on the ground, but just that little bit above the ground, that if the goalkeeper stretches a leg, it goes over the leg. So beautiful finish by Di Lorenzo, showing some of our strikers, how it's done, how to keep your composure in front of goal. It's something that we've missed a lot in recent times. And then the second goal, guys, Kvara in that central position, in between the line. Look, you can almost draw, I didn't draw it for you, but you can almost draw a circle around, a bigger circle around Kvara with all the Bologna players and Kvara just there in the middle. Great pass this time by Rachmani. Credit where credit's due to spot him. Kvara takes the ball. He's not under pressure and turns around. And then you've got, Oliveira on the left, which is so important. It's so important that he's there stretching that Bologna line as much as possible because it gives Kvara the space to run into. And, he's got that space because Oliveira's making a run, Raspadori's making a run, Politano's making a run. You probably have Di Lorenzo on the other side also making a run, and Kvara has that space to just focus on that one player in front of him, and then he takes it away from that player into the space that Raspadori left for him, or that maybe another player left for him. I don't know who that might be. I think that uh, I don't even know. Maybe that's Oliveira that left for him because I see Raspadori on the left. But he enters a space that Bologna now don't know how to defend. That player that is next to, I guess, Oliveira has to now focus his attention. He has to shift his attention from Oliveira now to Kvara. He has to turn his body. He's uncoordinated, and Kvara takes advantage to score this goal. And that player doesn't have time to re-coordinate his body, hits him, and it's a goal, right? But credit where credit's due to the movement of the Napoli players, following the action, making the right runs. And then Kvara was in a state of pure glory, with these nutmegs. And finally, guys, we get to Neres showing us how it's done. A little shimmy to the right, then goes to the left, and he sends that Bologna defender for a hot dog. Shows us how it's done, how much better of a player he is compared to Lindstrom, for example, and why Napoli spent 30 million on him, and he assists Simeone, guys. Now we got to talk a little bit about the impact that will have on the Napoli team. So we saw today that Conte only made 3 substitutions, guys. Ngonji didn't play, right? Does that mean that Ngonji's out of the project, guys? I've been tweeting since a few weeks now. I made some comments in my past videos about it, that Ngonji and Conte are not on good terms. Conte is not very happy with some of the off-field behavior by Ngonji, sorry. And it's very clear to me that with Neres coming in, Ngonja is going to have very limited time because, look, he's not going to substitute Kvara. And it's clear that the right-hand side belongs now to Neres and Politano, and they'll battle it out. Ngonja is that third player in there. It's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very, very difficult for Ngonja to find some space. And it's not something that really he can fix on the field. It's something that Conte doesn't like in Ngonja. Like, it's something that he's not impressed with off the field. So unfortunately, I think we might, even though he's a great player, we might not see much of him. He might even be transferred out. Let's go into the player ratings, guys. But before we do that, I want to remind you guys that there are now memberships that you can join. So with different memberships, you get different perks. I already spoken about it like 20 minutes ago. But what I didn't say was each membership has a different club name. So there's Club Azzurro, Club Fuorigrotta, which is where it's the neighborhood where the stadium is. Club Partenope, which is, Napoli is the Napoli team are the Partenopei. If you guys don't know why, refresh on your Greek history. And if you don't know why Greek history is important for Napoli, then refresh on your Napoli city history. And then obviously Club Vesuvio, guys, because if you don't know that, then please refresh your geography history. But if you don't want to study your Greek history or geography, then just support the channel if you can, if you want, if you'd like. Otherwise, it's totally fine. And for every perk, basically, if you choose, for example, Club Partenope, you also get the perks of Club Azzurro and Club Fuorigrotta, and you can cancel anytime. But this would really help me to grow the channel. I could, for example, hire people with this money to make better graphics than this, for example. And that might really help. So up to you guys if you want to help on that. Anyways, let's get to the player ratings, which is what a lot of you guys will be interested in. So let's start off with Kvara and Di Lorenzo, my two men of the matches, my two men of the matches, you could say, because there's two of them on equal points. Look, Di Lorenzo, let me start with him, monstrous, absolutely monstrous. The way he was defending, getting stuck in with all the headers and everything, and then going forward, accurate with his passing, following the play. I'd love to see later on when the stats come out how much he ran because this guy was doing everything on the field. And he is the Di Lorenzo of 2 years ago. And part of the reason why we struggled so much last year, guys, was because Di Lorenzo was having a tough time. And then when one of your center backs scores a goal and keeps a clean sheet, then what else is there to say than 9 out of 10, right? Maybe 10 out of 10 if he had saved something off the line as well. Then that's why I didn't put a 10 out of 10 because there's always room for more. Kvara, 9 out of 10 as well. One of his better games in a Napoli shirt. Just I didn't put that 10 out of 10 just because the goal you guys will hate me for like you guys will hate me for this, but I want to save it for when he has a similar game, but the goal is more special. You guys understand? Like the goal that he scored was great, great run, but it got deflected. And if I give him a 10 now, then one day when he has a similar game and he scores like a beautiful goal, like a beautiful free kick or something, then what do I give him? Right? So there's always room for improvement. You guys know how strict I am with my with my player ratings, but I feel like there's always room for more. Or what happens if he scores 2 goals next game? Then I give him a 10, right? So there's always room for more. But that assist was incredible. Like the assist was better than the goal, actually. And if he has 9 out of 10 every time, then we're all happy, right? We are happy. He is happy. Adiele is happy. All of Georgia will be happy. um, Lobo and Anguissa should be swapped, says Arsen. I thought Anguissa gave a lot of substance in the middle, but you could argue that they both played well. And I'm happy to, you know, if you guys see it that way. In the end, we're talking about a half point here and there. Dom, we are so back. Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. Because we didn't see something like this last season. We had some good wins, but not something like this against a good team. I really liked Oliveira. I thought very similar to Di Lorenzo, gave a lot of substance going forward, quality with passing, going forward, supporting Kvara, very, very good. Also defensively. Buongiorno showed what we were missing last year. And when you compare him to Juan Jesus, it's like night and day. And Politano was decent, right? Like he had some good passes, some nice inspiration moments, but ultimately lacked that final bit of quality for himself when he took shots. Mazzocchi is in that team. He's doing the best he can. He supports, maybe even has a good pass somewhere. But ultimately, like when you have a player like Kvara, like Di Lorenzo, like Buongiorno, like some of the midfielders playing a good game, and you see what their good game is, and then you compare it to what we think a Mazzocchi good game is, you see like, oof, there's a difference in level, right? Like one of his good games should be like an average performance for another one of his teammates. So it's very tough to give him more than really a six for what he does. It's very like it's just good enough to keep being in the team, right? But it's nothing crazy. Like if we were to replace him with another player, I'm not sure we would notice that difference so much. Yeah, we need to upgrade Mazzocchi. We need to upgrade Mazzocchi and Rachmani. Look, in the end, if we upgrade Rachmani, I don't even think we then need to upgrade Meret, right? Because with a Buongiorno, Di Lorenzo, and a better center back, I don't even think Rachmani would have that much to do, right? So that Meret would have that much to do. So we can move past Meret a little bit if we get a better center back. Um, so yeah, who scored gave Kvara 9.9. Yeah, Kvara, look, Kvara had an amazing game. I'm just saying who scored, it just looks at the fact that he scored a goal, right? I'm looking at the fact that he can score even more beautiful goals, and I want to save that 10 for those kind of moments. For, I, I just want to like make sure like it's also a psychological thing, right? To say that Kvara had such a good game and we know that he can still produce even more. It gives me even more excitement to know that he can this is not his limit. He can push it even higher. Um, and some of you guys are even asking me, like, these are good player ratings, right? Like, and some of you guys are asking me to put even higher, Oliveira 8. Look, Oliveira 8, a bit like, for me, 8 and above, you really have to be like assisting or scoring. Or if you're a defender, like in the case of Buongiorno, you have to be really like very, 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 very solid. For a player that gets forward so much like Oliveira to not assist or score, it's hard to justify an 8, even though defensively he was very, very, very solid. So yeah, guys, that is, and you would bump up Meret, maybe Meret for that save at 0-0. Yes, yes, maybe I was too harsh on Meret. His distribution didn't convince me, but in the end, he's paid to save goals, and he did that quite well. So, yes. Dom, what do you think about Parma? Do we have a chance? I haven't seen their game, but as far as I understand, Milan struggled. Look, Parma is an exciting team. They have the enthusiasm now of getting back to the Serie A. They did well. They're on 4 points right now. I think this Napoli team, the way that we play today, we could cause them problems. Let's not underestimate Parma at all. Um, and I think Parma will be quite a nice surprise this season. Like a top 10, potentially, ninth, 10th position. I don't see why not. I don't see why not Parma doing that. A bit like how Genoa was last season, where they get promoted and almost reach those European places, but potentially even get there, right? Because Fiorentina hasn't convinced me. Bologna, to say we saw it, hasn't convinced. So there's a lot of teams like got into Europe last season, even in Champions League, and I don't know if they will have anywhere near the same season as last season. But we'll do a season preview video when the transfer market closes. Um, so yes, guys, this is the Napoli player ratings, and I mean, if we take a very quick look at the stats, guys, I mean, they are super super cool. 16 shots, 3 goals, much better uh, shots to goal ratio today. What's very interesting, guys, is look at that possession: 39% versus Bologna 61. 39% possession is something we haven't seen in a long, long time. And I want to bring this up because Conte, uh, before the game in the preview conference, said against Modena, we had 75% possession. Against Verona, we had 70% possession. And we had 0 goals. And he says that's not normal, right? And then in this game, we have less than 40% possession and we put 3 goals. And I think that speaks to the fact that having more of the ball sometimes does not make it easier to score. In fact, it makes it harder at times because teams, when you have the ball, have time to come back, set up their structure, and then it's hard to break down a team that's playing six at the back, five in front of that. Um, so actually, giving the ball a little bit more to the opposition, whether that's on purpose or whether that's because the opposition is good and just has a bit more of the ball, and then hitting them on the counter with players that Napoli have, with guys like Oliveira and Di Lorenzo that can go down the flanks, with guys like Kvara that can dribble past people when he's got space. Spinazzola as well can do that. Lukaku, he's got speed if he comes in. Neres can hit people on the counter as well. I think that plays more in Napoli's favor, not having so much of the ball, because I think the players that we have are very good at hurting the opposition when there is space to attack them. If we have 75% possession, where is the space going to come from? Right? It's going to be very, very hard. So moving forward, this might be more something that we see compared to last year or the previous games, where maybe Conte says, you know what, maybe we don't need the ball for 80%. Let's just defend well. We have Buongiorno. We'll soak up the pressure and then we'll hit them in the counter. Why not? So that's a particularly, I think, important insight that we can get from the match stats. You guys know I'm not a huge fan of stats by themselves, but when they get, interpreted, then they can become quite interesting. Um, Unlimited, Garrett, thank you so much for your donation, and good to see you back supporting the channel. Says, watching Napoli today made me so proud. Brilliant spirit. And watching I tifosi sing Ho surdato innamorato was beautiful. That's true. The song that the team used on their way back into the Serie B and Serie A in the early start of the De Laurentiis era, in the early era of the De Laurentiis, in the early phase of the De Laurentiis era, and possibly even before, and it's a classic in Neapolitan culture. Um, well, basically that song has been there, and then at some point, let's say from 2014 onwards, when we started being a bit more consistent in Europe and all that, that song was removed from after we would win games, right? Because it was seen by De Laurentiis as being like, it's so something local and provincial, um, you know, um, because he wanted this Napoli team to be more international, more this. And it's great to see that actually he's changing and he's realizing actually, we've got such a rich culture and history, and the music is part of that, and it's music famous all over the world. Let's capitalize on that. Let's use things that are important in the city, um, as well. And actually, I think that increases our international appeal because we've got character that other clubs, cities don't have. Not every city has songs in their dialect. It's not really something that you would have if you go to, Chelsea, for example. Um, so yeah, guys, that is that. Let's see if Conte has said anything in his press conference, and let me know if you guys have subscribed to being a member, right? Because just to get an idea of if anyone's done that. Let's see. So Buongiorno said something, and also Meret and Conte. So let's start with Buongiorno. And he said today there was a team spirit. We wanted to help one another, and that made the difference. And they asked Buongiorno, what does Conte want you to do when you guys have the ball? And he says, we still need a bit of time to really understand each other. We have to work day by day, but Conte, wants us to play the ball on the ground. And I'm happy here. I found a team that wants to improve from last season. Very happy about the way that this win happened. That was him. Meret said that there is good team spirit. Conte asked us to remain tight and to prevent their through balls, which we conceded very little to Bologna. If we keep this attitude up, then we will be very difficult to score against. And the people want to see that we honor the shirt. It's in our interest to do that. So let's keep doing that. And then Conte's press conference. But before I do that, let me get to Lewis's comment. Thank you, Lewis, for the $499 donation. Where is it? There we go. Says thanks for the lives. Let's hope this Champions League level season again. If we play like this, I don't see why not. And thank you for the support, guys. Do you think we will sell Osimhen this transfer window? I think yes, because I don't think Adiele would be spending all this money if he didn't have something up his sleeve, right? Maybe there is some kind of secret deal with some Saudi club that if Osimhen is not sold by the end of the transfer season, they would go and take him. I don't know. Maybe there might be something like that, right? Because otherwise, I don't know. I don't know how De Laurentiis is like what he intends to do with Osimhen, right? Like just keep him for 10 million euros net a season on the sidelines. It just doesn't make sense, right? But let's go to Conte and we'll think about Osimhen when it's time. Let's go to Conte. He says, today we had a great responsibility that to give a reaction after the second half of Verona. I asked the team to be very compact, very compact. I didn't have any doubt that the fans would show their love for this team. And we had to give a signal to them. These are very, very good guys. I see them work. Um, I managed to get into their head and I got some very good responses from them. There are 3 points that are the start of our journey. My first 3 points with Napoli at the Maradona. I'm very emotional. I really wanted this. This is a great starting point. We have to take confidence from this and keep the unity. I'm very happy. We didn't win since a long time and we did it against a very good team, says Conte. They ask him about Lukaku and if he's heard from him, and he says, I hope the Mercato closes as soon as possible. For us managers, it's not easy to create unison with the team when players are coming and going. I'm not going to say anything because it's not official. We will talk about it when it might be like we did with Neres. Today he showed something very important. He also and also Raspadori and Simeone. And they ask him, are you surprised by the difference between this Napoli and the one from yesterday? And he says, well, I really hoped I would see this, but it seems like something went into the head of these players. I'm very happy for Kvara. Credit to him, the way he trains, the things that he's doing on the training field are showing, he's reaping the rewards. Buongiorno, we really, really wanted him, and he can be here for many, many years, and in the future he can be the club captain when Di Lorenzo quits. Di Lorenzo was extraordinary today, both him and Buongiorno, very good in defense. And I'm asking these players to have even more courage building from the back. Tactically, we attack them with a 3-1-6 with Di Lorenzo that comes in from the back. We try to defend as compact as possible. Against Verona, they scored 3 times from 3 different counterattacks that we didn't handle very well. With Modena, we had 70% possession and we didn't score. But today we were much more dangerous, and we defended much better as a team. So, guys, that is Conte and his press conference. It seems like the news around Napoli in terms of the transfer market is that McTominay has agreed a contract with Napoli, guys. He's asking, though, Man United to pay him a certain fee because, from what I understand, um, he might get a salary cut from what he's currently earning at United. United will get 30 million, and so so Scott McTominay wants to be compensated by getting off the Man United books and by allowing Man United to get all this transfer money by getting a portion of this 30 million euro fee from United themselves. Um, so that's something that him and United are discussing. But when it comes to Napoli and United and Napoli and McTominay, apparently it's done. It's a done deal. So that's very cool. Let's see how he will integrate into this Napoli team. We'll do a video about that later. And it seems like Osimhen is very close to Al Ali, that there might be an initial yes from Osimhen to join this Saudi club. They presented an offer of 65 million for Osimhen to Napoli. Guys, 65 is quite literally half of what his transfer release clause is. But in the end, even if you sell Osimhen for 5 million, Napoli would be making a not a profit, but they would be making a gain in their balance sheet because the cost of Osimhen has already been amortized over the last 4 or 5 years that he's been at Napoli, right? So at the moment, um, it's like we've already used up Osimhen, and anything that we can then make from him, it's a positive for the balance sheet. We might get into a video of this later. Um, what makes me think I'm qualified to talk to you guys about balance sheets and all this? There might be some finance bros in the chat that might think that this is ridiculous of me to do that, but actually, no, I have the right qualifications to talk to you about that. Don't worry. We'll explain that in another video. I'm not just a YouTuber. I have a real job on the side, and degrees. Anyways, we might do that in another time. I was gonna say in another life, maybe in another life, but definitely in this life, in another time. So guys, that's the deal with Osimhen and all that. Gilmore apparently as well. There is Correira and Dedic, and guys, the transfer market, if Osimhen gets sold, is gonna allow Napoli to buy 4 or 5 different players. I mean, that's the reality of it. That he's holding us back a little bit. Um, Clearly not part of the project anymore. I would, from a sporting point of view, like him to stay, but if he doesn't want to, then it's better that we move on, and we move on quickly so that we can start building this team and we have the time to close all the deals that Conte wants, right? So guys, um, that is everything really from me. Let's get to maybe some final 5 comments. This is also why it would be cool if you guys become members of the channel, just because if you become members, then you get stickers next to your name and like Napoli specific stickers. And the more you are a member, like if you've been a member for 1 month versus 3 months, you get a different sticker. So I recognize who's been here kind of longer, and then I can prioritize maybe some people's comments over the others, right? And I can kind of you know, pick my final 5 questions a bit more, you know, to the guys that are supporting. But anyways, I'll try to get a bit of everyone. Anyways, don't worry. Even if you don't become a member, because I want to make this open for everybody. This channel. Um, but anyways, Lewis is saying the turnaround was insane from losing 3-0 to bottom feeder Verona to beating a Champions League team the same week. Welcome to Napoli. Last year on Maradona, they lost almost all matches. Yeah, it's also because last year we just kept insisting on, I think, having so much of the ball when I think that maybe we should have started hitting teams a bit more on the counterattack. But then again, we didn't have a defender that was solid enough to let us absorb the pressure, right? So we actually shouldn't have then defended so much. We were in this very badly set up situation where we couldn't defend, and yeah, um, we were very ineffective going forward. Anyways, Osimhen was bought for 70 millions. Yes, but that's you don't have to sell a player for more than 70 million to get a profit out of it. That's just not how accounting works. It's a bit like buying a computer when you buy a player. You buy a computer for 1,000 euros, but then on your balance, you say, okay, I've spent 1,000, but I'm only gonna put that I or every how do I explain this in simple terms? Every year you take away, let's say, 20% of that if you for the next 5 years. So then by the end of the 5 years, you effectively have used that computer to the point that on paper it doesn't have any more value. And then if you were to sell that computer for even just $1, you can record that as a profit, even though maybe you spent 1,000 5 years earlier. I'll figure out a way to better explain this in the next video because it's a complicated topic. But yeah, maybe it's worth talking about it just so we're all on the same page about how transfers work. Um, did not other clubs offer more? PSG and Chelsea? Possibly, possibly, but maybe PSG. I think what they wanted was the package of Osimhen and Kvara. Maybe they didn't want just Osimhen, which would be weird. I know. Why would they want two but not just the one of them? But when I heard of PSG's offer, I always heard that it was like a package kind of deal. And then Chelsea, I think Osimhen has never agreed salary with Chelsea. Guy Roberts is saying the cost of the player is spread over the duration of the contract, and so if he's worth, for example, 20 millions on books and he's on for 30 minutes, then you are 10 million in profit. Yes, and his value on the books changes every year, right? So when he's there on his first year, he's gonna have a higher value than when he's there in the third year, because in the meantime, you've used up that player and his value decreases. We'll get into this in another video, guys. So yeah, technically, if Napoli sell him for $1, they will record it as a profit because they've already used up all of Osimhen. I know, it's weird. We'll get to it in another video. Guys, we'll leave it at that, right? Because you know that it's time to close a live when you start talking about accounting. And it's late. It's late and it's hot. You can see how hot it is, guys. I'm dying. I'm dying here. So good game by Napoli. I hope you guys enjoyed the channel. I hope you guys are smashing that like button, that you are subscribed if you're not yet subscribed, that you become a member, guys, and that you're happy most of all that Napoli have got 3 goals and 3 points. And with that, guys, I'll sign off. And as always, Forza Napoli sempre. Ciao.